Hey everyone, today we're going to dive into a pretty interesting wellness product called Reviv. It's been making some seriously bold claims about changing your facial structure. So we're going to break down what it is and how it supposedly works. And just so you know, we're pulling all of this information directly from its official website. Right out of the gate, look at this. They're not framing Reviv as just some accessory. No, they're calling it the missing piece of your nightly routine. I mean, that sets a really high bar for what this thing is supposed to do.
And yeah, that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? What is this thing, really? And what are the mechanics behind these pretty wild claims? Let's dig in and find out.
Okay, first things first, let's just establish what Reviv actually is, according to the people who made it. So at its core, Reviv is basically a mouth guard. It's made from food-grade silicone, you mold it to your own teeth, and you wear it at night. But here's the key phrase. It activates alignment while you sleep. So what does that even mean? And how's it supposed to work? Well, this is where things get really interesting. This brings us to the core theory behind the product, a concept they call the balloon skull theory. It's a very visual idea. The website actually asks this question for you right in its FAQ section. So let's just walk through their explanations step by step and try to wrap our heads around the logic here. Okay, so here's the analogy they use. Picture this. Your skull's soft tissue is like a balloon. Step 2, they claim that when you grind your teeth, you're actually deflating this balloon, which crushes the skull. I know. Then step 3, they say this whole deflation thing is the aging process. So the solution, Reviv, is designed to add height back to your teeth, basically re-inflating the balloon. It's a memorable way to explain it for sure. So that's the theory. But what about the results? I mean, what are people actually saying? To answer that, the website has a bunch of user testimonials that are supposed to show the kinds of transformations people are seeing. Okay, this first story is about a user who reports a really specific change in their jaw angle. And what's kind of crazy is the timeline. They claim they saw this difference in just 2 weeks. And listen to this. The user is just blown away by how simple it seems. But the real kicker is that their girlfriend noticed. And apparently she's not someone who notices these things. You know, that's some pretty powerful social proof right there. All right, next up, we've got a user named Harry. He's 28, and after 5 weeks, he gave a much more detailed breakdown of all the changes he says he saw. And wow, Harry's list is pretty long. See how he uses that word inflating? That connects right back to that balloon skull theory we were just talking about. But he's not just talking about his face. He's also claiming benefits for his posture and even his skin. That's a way wider range of effects than you might expect from a mouth guard. Now, our last testimonial is from a user named Tanya, and her story is fascinating because she actually seems a little skeptical about her own results. I love this part. Tanya says her face feels broader, but then she immediately wonders if it could be placebo. It's a really honest moment of self-awareness. But even so, she still reports feeling a real, tangible difference in her teeth every morning, plus maybe even a mood boost. So the website doesn't just promote Reviv in a vacuum. They actually compare it directly to another practice called Mewing, which is all about using tongue posture to define your jawline. So let's see how they position Reviv as the better choice. This pretty much lays out their whole argument. Reviv is positioned as being way faster, something that should work for everyone, and it comes with a guarantee. Mewing, on the other hand, is framed as slower and less reliable. So the key takeaway from their point of view is that Reviv is just more efficient and has a wider reach. And to give you a sense of scale, the site claims that around 8,000 people have used this thing since early 2023. That suggests a pretty decent-sized community is growing around this method. Okay, so we've seen the claims, we've heard the theory, we've looked at the testimonials. Now it's time for the really important stuff, the fine print. The website's official disclaimer gives some critical context to everything we've just talked about.
And there it is. This is the sentence you really need to see. They are being crystal clear that this product and all the info around it are not a substitute for professional medical advice. That's a super important distinction. And the disclaimer keeps going. It says the content is just the author's opinion and the product is sold as is. And again, they hammer home that it's not medical advice. In fact, they specifically tell users to do their own research and, this is crucial, to consult a healthcare provider before using it. So they're really putting the responsibility squarely on you. And that brings us to this really interesting tension, right?
On one hand, you have these very compelling personal stories of transformation, but on the other, you have a very clear medical disclaimer. It leaves us with a big question. In this whole world of wellness, how should we weigh personal experience against established medical advice? It's definitely something to think about.